ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Power Vacuum. I'm your host, Belmont, and we have an interesting development with the Nintendo Switch 2. Saw this headline and wanted to know more about it, so let's jump right in. This is from GameSpot. Nintendo Switch 2 is compatible with a standard USB mouse. As seen during a demo for Nobunaga's Ambition Awakening CE, it's possible to use a regular mouse with the Switch 2. One of the most intriguing developments with Nintendo Switch 2 is that the Joy-Con 2 controllers have mouse-like functionality for certain games. That's been a long requested feature, but players who love using mice appear to have that option on Switch 2 as well. During a demonstration for Nobunaga's Ambition Awakening CE on Switch 2 via Insider Gaming, producer Michi Ryu plugged a wired mouse into the console and began playing with it. He also noted that when the mouse is plugged in, it takes priority control away from the Joy-Con 2 controllers. Ryu used the mouse at around 10:53 mark in the video below. Well, let's check that out. We're just going to jump straight to the point. It's got the Joy 2 cons. I don't want to get copyright struck in case this audio is copyrighted, so it's on silent. And he takes the mouse. And this is the part, I guess, where he's explaining. Is this even translated?
じゃあそちらが優先されますので、
It's not even translated, so it doesn't matter unless you speak Japanese or understand it. And look at that. That's so this is going to make certain games like way easier to play and probably more enjoyable. That's huge. That's a huge bonus and gives the Switch 2 a whole lot of credibility. And while some people are like, oh, the Switch 2 is it's still a whole generation behind with the PS4. It's basically like a PS4 Pro, I think is what I've heard people say as far as like graphics and processing power, which is true, but it's a PS4 Pro that you can take literally anywhere with you, which is huge. Yeah, that's cool. That so I guess now I wonder if there are games that require more buttons if you okay, so he's using both. Okay, so you can still use the Joy-Con and the mouse, which that statement made it sound like it was gonna it just takes priority control. So the mouse is more responsive. I don't know. It looks like you can use both. Priority control implies that when the mouse is plugged in, that the Joy-Cons won't work, but that doesn't appear to be the case. So there you go. You can use both, which that's a pretty big chamber game changer. This doesn't necessarily mean that all Switch 2 games will be compatible with a standard mouse. It's also unclear if wireless mice are also usable on Switch 2. XCOM creator Julian Gollop recently suggested Switch 2's mouse options may lead to more strategy games on the system. Nintendo's upcoming 3v3 sport title Drag and Drive will exclusively feature the Joy-Con 2's mouse capabilities. Metroid Prime 4 Beyond will also incorporate the ability to switch between Joy-Con 2's controller and mouse-like capabilities on the fly. That may make aiming a lot easier in the upcoming sequel. Nintendo also recently shared a better look at the Joy-Con 2's mouse capabilities will work. And there you go. Short and sweet article. Pretty big news if you ask me. Being able to just plug your mouse into a console is something almost all console players have been asking for the better part of 5 or 6 years. I know they want pretty much mouse and keyboard compatibility with all consoles, and if they do that, it'll absolutely shift the gaming dynamic from PC to console, just because the number one complaint people have about certain games is that mouse and keyboard is just far more intuitive to playing games, especially first person or third person shooters, than a controller is. Where action adventure games, it doesn't really matter as much. You don't have to be as precise. But if Xbox and PlayStation follow suit and you can plug in a mouse and keyboard to a console and play, for example, Call of Duty or Overwatch 2 or Marvel Rivals with a mouse and keyboard functionality compared to a controller, it'll just be a better experience. Just hands down. Sorry, controller bros, but first person and shoot other third person shooter games. Shooter games are just better on mouse and keyboard. That's a fact. People have to come to terms with it. And this could open the door for Nintendo to allow, I mean, they might not do full mouse and keyboard, but any shooter games that come out on the Switch too, they might have a slight advantage if they can have the uh looking option be tied to the mouse and firing and clicking, and then you have the Joy-Con in your other hand, which could be like you're walking forward backwards, and your other buttons could be used to throw grenades, reload, that kind of thing. It could make Nintendo Switch 2 players much more viable and competitive than Xbox or PlayStation players because of the mouse, just the mouse alone. They go full mouse and keyboard, game over for controllers when it comes to shooting games, because eventually everyone will be playing on mouse and keyboard, as they should with shooter games, because as I said, it's just superior. But there you have it, the Switch 2 fully compatible with the USB mouse. Now if it becomes a wireless mouse is also compatible, um that'll be great, but there are latency issues with wireless mice that wired mice just have an advantage over, so they may not ever do that. Plus, I don't know if Bluetooth and the transmission for the wireless mouse is going to be more power intensive than a wired mouse, but that's something we're just gonna have to wait for Nintendo to explain. That's all I have for this story. This is your host, Belmont, signing out.